This is the Vision 79 podcast where my friend Sander and myself, Mason, discuss recent developments in our business and our personal growth. The name Vision 79 comes from our respective racing numbers. Sanders is 40, mine is 39, together that's 79. And we have a shared vision for success in business and our personal lives. Many successful people started small, just like us, but very few of them documented their process. We intend to be the first to document our journey from start to finish. I edited that down a bit because I noticed that one was really fucking long, the old one.
Yeah,
and I didn't like it. I don't like
I
the
like
long
bold
intros because I find myself when I'm listening getting fed up with it. So P1 podcast with Matt and Tommy always starts with 11 ads and 15 minutes of intro. Modern Wisdom always starts with 4 ads.
I was just about to mention Modern
and
Wisdom.
10 minutes of intro. Dude, did you know I just skip until I hear the theme music?
And then I go back one.
Yep, it drives me nuts. But the game with Alex Ramosi, he's like, I'm here to teach you how to do business. Listen up. And then you get started. So that's what I started with. I have some key topics for today to highlight our last week. This is episode 10. We're halfway to where 99% of people quit.
That's true.
Out of 20 episodes. But we are
We're
downsizing.
doing really well. And we're doing super consistently. Posted.
We're doing really well. We're doing super consistently. Everything's great. We're downsizing. That's the first thing I have on my list.
Yeah, we are downsizing.
Which is we're cutting back on multiple avenues, right? The baked goods business we're cutting back on. The social media content for Vision 79 we're cutting back on. All in an effort to try and place further emphasis on the big project that we have right now. Got a great business opportunity. Those are the meetings that we've been talking about. It's been going really well. We had another very productive meeting this week. It was a working group meeting, which I enjoy because meetings where you just sit and share ideas are fun, but I really love getting the laptop out and like working out the numbers.
Yeah.
That's what I prefer, even at Northrop.
Yeah, it was super productive. I was very happy with the outcome of the meeting. I thought it went really well.
Yeah.
We learned a lot, and we have avenues to go down to improve what we currently have.
Yep.
So I'm happy about that. But at the same time, I feel like we're in a really good spot.
No, 100%. Very happy. Very happy. If you told me I was going to be here 6 months ago, I'd be over the moon.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that this can all start coming together earlier than we even thought, which is great.
That is true.
And I recently have been feeling, I shared this in the last podcast or two, that we aren't really sharing enough details about what we're doing. But I heard a quote this week from Ramosi on promotional strategies. And the strategy is whisper, tease, shout. The idea being 6 weeks out and plus, you whisper about your next project. You just kind of let people know that it's coming. Something's coming. You don't know what. And then from 6 weeks out to 7 days out, you tease. You post a video, you post a picture, you start to actually give them a little bit of insight of what you're actually doing. And then 7 days to opening day, you shout. Just fucking tell everybody, tell them, remind them, hey, it's this weekend, it's tomorrow, it's tonight. Come, see our product, buy our things.
Yeah.
And that's the strategy that I would like us to follow. And I think that adds some context to being vague here, because it's kind of like whispering.
Yeah,
We only get 3 views a podcast on Spotify. So even if we were blatantly saying what we were doing, no one's listening. But it's a good place where if somebody's interested and they come here and they listen, they get a little bit of a taste, and that's the whisper. So I think that we're starting this promotional strategy, whether it's intentional or not.
I would agree. I also really like that strategy. It makes sense to me. I was, happy that you brought it up. And I've been listening to a lot of the game podcasts lately, and I've been really enjoying it. I like the shorter content. I like the more like pinpoint focus on topics. You can kind of scroll through the list and like pick whatever you want. So
he has bits podcasts where it's like, I think they're actually YouTube videos, and then he just takes the audio and puts it on Spotify. Maybe he does both. I don't watch the video, but it's like a 1 hour meeting where he like works you through whatever affiliate marketing.
He does have longer stuff, but at least a lot of the Spotify content is like somewhere between 10 and 25 minutes.
Yeah. The ones that I've been listening to lately is like the 55, 70 minute mark.
Yeah. I've been scrolling through and listening to the shorter ones because I can get through like 2 or 3 on a drive.
Got it.
Which I like.
I listen in the gym, so I'm there for an hour. I can get through one.
That makes sense.
However amount of time. But yeah, I've got a bunch of quotes today and then one topic to share. What do you have?
I have the car thing that I saved from last week that I didn't get to mention.
I thought we did that already.
No, there's another one.
Okay.
It's cool.
Okay.
But I have 2 questions. Those are my main questions.
Okay. Do you want to start? Do you want to do the car one, or do you want to say that?
Yeah, we could start with the car thing.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of the Zinger 21C.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So for those of you who haven't heard of it, I might have told you.
I mean, I haven't.
Before.
Tell me while we're on camera.
Right. We were talking a little bit about AI last time.
Mm-hmm.
And the Zinger 21C is an AI developed car. They essentially, every single component, the engine displacement, the suspension layout, the ergonomics of the interior are all designed by AI. And I find it really fascinating because they did an example where they took the front upper control arm for this car, and they're like, okay, we had a team of engineers for 1 week design a control arm, and they came up with X design. And then they gave them 3 more weeks and they came up with this design. And then they gave them 5 more weeks and they came up with this design. And that was like their final design, can't get any better.
This is using AI or just
not
engineers?
Using AI. This is a team of engineers that they hired for 2 months.
Baseline, got it.
Yeah. 2 months they hired these engineers to build this control arm, a team of them.
Got it.
And then beyond that, they had the AI generated control arm. And it looked like the control arm after 2 months, but it was further refined and further, they had other meticulous bits on it. It's a very complex structure. You guys can look up the video. It's really impressive. And that control arm took 5 minutes for AI to come up with by using force loads and applications of different conditions and developing, the perfect structure to take on the loads for any sort of, driving condition.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind because it was like, this is totally the future. Like, you can't beat this. It's crazy. One person could design an entire car with that kind of tool. You know what I mean? Because you could sit there and just put in your loads, and with a really good software and system, you could design a whole car. Where it's like it's a 2-seater car, but the seats are front and back of each other, like a bike, kind of. Or a fighter plane is what they modeled it after. But when you get into the back seat, it looks cramped, but all of the ergonomics around your legs and everything, it actually feels spacious because you kind of just lay in there and you have enough movement to be able to move around a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's very comfortable.
Like a cockpit.
Exactly. But it's not designed by engineers. It's designed by this AI. And the motor displacement's like 2.88 liters or something really weird like that.
Weird number.
Yeah, because it was like, that was like the ideal number for maximum power for the given bore to stroke that they were running with the hybrid system. It is a very interesting car. And, I just wanted to touch on the fact that I think AI is such a powerful tool and it really gives humanity the ability to expand on a lot of great concepts and great ideas at a very fast pace. And so I'm very excited to see what people come up with. I'm excited to use it. I want to be at a level where I can utilize those tools in my day-to-day life, whether I'm engineering a race car or trying to edit videos and stuff like that. Like, there's a wealth that AI can help with.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say I'm really excited for that.
It's interesting. I was listening to a video the other day on Einstein's theory of relativity and how that relates to black holes, white holes, and parallel universes. Because a black hole is something that, gravity is so intense that light can't escape, right?
What's a white hole?
A white hole is the opposite, where it is the inverse of a black hole and it fucking throws all the matter out. It gets rid of it.
Interesting. Is it like a big ball of antimatter?
It would have to be. It would have. That's why scientists look at like dark matter or whatever. It's like an antimatter, right? Or anti-gravity. I don't fucking know.
We're scientists.
I'm not a scientist. But
we are licensed scientists. Everything we hear today is verbatim exactly what's happening.
The theory being, they've got a really great graphical example, but the theory being you can enter a black hole, and instead of falling into the singularity and dying, because black holes rotate, right? So you can actually pass through the singularity. And when you do, where do you go? You get spit out. Spit out of what? You get spit out of a white hole, not a black hole. And, depending on the direction that you go, you can be spit out into a parallel universe, right? Interesting.
It's wild.
But a lot of scientists are like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. White holes don't exist. This is stupid, right? What's interesting to me with the AI discussion is that AI works with the formulas that we've written. It reads through all of the whole internet, and it can understand all of the formulas that humanity has derived and then use the formulas humanity has derived to find a thing. So you can't say, oh, well, people could have come up with this because the team of engineers could have worked on it for 6 years and not come up with exactly what the AI did, right?
Or they might have been able to.
Well, they might have not. You could also take a second group of engineers that come up with a wildly different solution to either of them, right? And odds are the AI one is going to be better. What's interesting to me is they're all working within the bounds of the rules that humans have defined, because the AI ultimately learns from humans. So I'm wondering, this is where AI gets scary. At what point can it start to derive its own formulas and when can it start to come to its own conclusions and start to learn more than humanity? Because right now no one person can take all the information that humanity has discovered and put it on a project. AI can, and that's why it's great. Yeah. But when can AI start to elevate and make new ideas?
Right.
That's what is.
I'm excited.
Fucking.
I think it's scary, but it's cool. I think it's scary, but it's cool.
It freaks me out.
Yeah, I get that.
Out. Yeah.
Throw me one of your questions or quotes. What you got for me today?
I have a bunch of quotes. I don't have any questions. I found one from Hormozi, and I kind of want to shit talk it here, which is he was talking to Chris Williamson on the Modern Wisdom. I was re-listening to one of the podcasts, and he said, I can work 6.5 days out of 7. Right? So he works 6.5 days, and then he has to take half a day off to re-energize, and then he's back on it on the 7th day. And I had this weird dichotomy in my head because I started thinking to myself, Sandra and I work nonstop, like literally no breaks for like 8 weeks on a project, no stop at all. And then we crashed for like a day and then got back on it. So if we can work for 8 weeks straight, crash for a day, and then regenerate, we kind of work harder than Alex Hormozi. And that's a cool thought. And then I started to think to myself, actually, we probably only work 20% as hard as Alex Hormozi does. And we have no fucking idea yet. Because in high school, when I'd study really hard for a test, I think I was working hard. And then in college, after the SAE team, I was like, dude, I don't even know what hard work looks like. So right now, like, we think we're capable of working hard, but 5 years from now, we're going to look back and go, dude, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We weren't optimized at all. Right? For
me, it's a little bit different. I feel like I look back on periods of my life and I'm like, wow, like I worked super hard during that time. You know, like that was crazy. And I look at myself now and I'm like, I know I could be working harder in this aspect, but like sometimes I just don't hit my marks for the day. And then other days I really do hit my marks. I'm like, holy shit, like I did a lot today. Like today was a good day. So for me, it really varies. I definitely do agree. I think that I could work harder in some aspects. And then there are days where like I don't even know how I was able to fit in what I did, you know. And a lot of those days go back to like early business startups that we've done, like drop shipping or early Kahuna work. And it goes back to Formula SAE. You know, a lot of those days I was like, I don't understand how we stayed up for 3 days straight and worked nonstop, didn't take a break, didn't sleep, and like made that happen and functioned. Like I don't understand how that happened.
Because that's hard work, right?
Yeah.
But
that's a little bit beyond
no, I know. That's hard fucking work. And that's the maximum of our ability, right? We don't have the ability to work harder because we have to sleep. We don't have the ability to work harder because we have to go get food, right? But what if you are a multimillionaire with a team of doctors who give you all the right supplements and vitamins and a private chef to cook you food, to bring you food while you're working, allowing you to work even longer? Like, I think that the drive is there, the self-initiation is there, but we're hampered and limited by outside factors. And I think that those outside factors decreased from high school to college, and they're going to further decrease as we see more success in business, which will allow us to work more. But I think there's a shocking amount of people in the world who don't have that initiative. There are people in high school with us that didn't work as hard as us. There were people in college who didn't work as hard as us. And they had more room to go and didn't take it. So as long as we're constantly bumping against the red line of what's possible, we'll constantly be looking for different ways to find more time to work harder. And I thought that was an interesting...
The red line will be raised over time, but as long as we're bumping against it. That's okay.
Right. And there are so many fucking influencers on TikTok who talk about how important hard work is. And to myself, I'm thinking, they don't know what the fuck hard work is. And I listen to Hormozi, and he goes, they don't know what the fuck hard work is. And I go, wait, he works harder than I do. And it's not by choice. I'd like to work as hard as he does. What's the difference here? What's the gap? I can recognize that I don't work that hard, but I want to. Whereas I feel a lot of other younger men on our similar level think that they work as hard as him.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. That's what I wanted to bring up.
I have a point on that too. I listened to a Gary V and Gary V Modern Wisdom podcast, and he talked about how there are a lot of people working hard, but very few are putting their actual all into everything. Mm-hmm. Very, very few. And he made the example of social media. Like Gary Vee is on all social media platforms. You can find him anywhere. And he was like, there are very few creators who are actually on every single social media platform working as hard as they can, putting every single piece of content out there. There's very, very few of those kinds of people.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a cool point. And, it kind of made me actually look back at what we're doing with Vision 79. Obviously, we're dialing back now, but we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, and YouTube. Like we're on all of them. And it just kind of made me a little bit happy. I was like, man, we're putting a good amount of effort into this. Like we're doing more than most. We might not be doing the most, but we're doing more than most, and we're bumping against the red line that we have.
Yeah, I think that we're working as hard as our capacity limits us to.
Yeah.
I was listening to a Chris Williamson podcast. I forget who it was. They were talking about the difference between Jeff Bezos hungover on his yacht and a salesman who is working his fucking ass off in 20-hour days, right? So in a 20-hour day, this dude hustling his ass off is making phone calls. He's going door to door. He's posting. He's, killing it 20 hours a day, right? He just gets food DoorDash to him so he can eat while he works, right? And Jeff Bezos wakes up at noon. He's fucking hungover, so he gets a massage. He checks his phone for 15 minutes. He has dinner, drinks until he passes out again, right? Who got more work done that day, right? The obvious answer is the guy who went hustling, right? But the actual answer is that it was Jeff Bezos, because he has a team of teams of teams, a system of systems working for him. And the dude on the podcast did all the math. I can't fucking remember. I almost wrote everything down and bring it up here, and then I was like, that is not my information to share. The breakdown was, in that set of 24 hours, the hustler produced 20 hours of work. And in that 24 hours, Jeff Bezos, when you compound all his employees together, had 28 million hours of work in one day, which is fucking insane.
That's wild.
Insane. And you don't get there without first hustling. So it's just people at two different stages. Yeah. But there are people who get stuck in the hustle stage and can't progress, and that's what hinders them. That's where you hit burnout and whatever. And I think it's where a lot of businesses get stuck.
Yeah, I hear you. Mm-hmm. I agree. I have a question for you, kind of related to this hard work. So in college, we worked super hard, as we've stated, and bumped against our red line back then, and put all of our efforts into forming SAE. But my question is, do you think that college is worth going to? What did you get out of the experience? And are there things you think you missed out on by going?
College is really great to set a precedent instead of standard. At the end of the day, what a college degree really says is, I have the discipline to show up every day and the masochism to work hard every day and kill myself doing it, which teaches you a lot of values. It also gives you a degree, which gives you the ability to get a job no matter what. You always have a safety net. You can always go back and get a job because you have a college degree. That's just how our society works. I think that it's somewhat a trap. And I was talking to my mother about this earlier this week. We were talking about student loans. And she was like, I don't understand why people take out student loans to go to college to get a degree that they're not going to get a good job in, and they're not going to be able to pay off their student loans. And I said, hey, kids are making these decisions. They're fucking 16, 17 years old applying to colleges. And the only reason they're doing that is because their parents have raised them to get good grades. Their teachers tell them to get good grades. Their teachers tell them to apply to good colleges to hope to get into good colleges. And then when you're picking your college, all of the different colleges are saying, hey, come here, we're the best option, we're where you need to be. You've got so much pressure on such a young mind. You pick your college, you get there, they tell you you're at the place, and that you've got to work hard to get good grades to get your degree because that's what you're focused on, right? And once you get out, then you realize, oh, I have to find a job now, right? I don't know if there are jobs available in my field. I never really stopped to think about that. And at that, fuck, I've got $700 a month of student loans to pay off. How the fuck am I going to do this? And it's because in high school, you were looking 1 week ahead at the next test. and then maybe at most 1 year ahead to graduate high school, and then 1 year ahead to get in college, and then 1 month ahead to get the test done, and 1 month ahead to get the semester done, whatever. It's very short term thinking. Mm-hmm. And once you get out of college, there's no more short term. Now it's like, go figure it out. There's no more next step apart from get a job. But you were misled for years in thinking this is what you need to do. This is good. You will succeed. You will see success if you do this. You do it, and then you realize that there's not really opportunity everywhere because your degree might not have a wide selection of jobs, and the jobs that are available might not pay enough, and the jobs that are available that pay enough, you might not be qualified for. And even if you're qualified for them, there's probably someone who outqualifies you because they've been in the field. So it really narrows it down. I think that I got really lucky picking engineering because I could have just as easily picked anything else. I wanted to be an actor in high school. Mm-hmm. So I could have easily gone into something that would not have gotten a high-paying job.
Right.
But I decided engineering, and that's where I went, and it's paying its dividends. Now, I've since realized the fault in the school system and people telling you this is where you need to be. And I've recognized now that there's more to life. And so I'm happy I went to college. I think I got a great way of thinking from engineering. I think I learned how to work hard. I think I learned how to show up every day. There are a lot of values that I got from it.
Yeah.
I'm now thinking to myself, oh, fuck, I wasted 4 years that I could have been progressing in business. But the fact is, I wouldn't have had the money to support myself. I would have had to work 3 jobs to make a living, and that doesn't give me time to work business. I wouldn't have had this method of thinking.
I think we could have done it, even not going to college. Pursuing our business pursuits. I think that the biggest benefit, at least for me, from going to college was your mindset to be able to work really hard on a certain task and just get through the grind time. And also, I think that specifically going for engineering, the engineering mindset is really beneficial when you apply it to business because you go at it from an analytical perspective of how can I solve these problems rather than an emotional perspective of, oh man, these problems suck so much. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's a pro in that sense. I wouldn't necessarily recommend college to every person because I think, we happen to like engineering, right? Mm-hmm. And I think engineering is a really good field to go into from a college perspective. But I don't recommend someone to just go for engineering for the mindset if they don't actually like engineering because you're not going to really get anything out of the experience. You're going to sit there and grind through college and you're not going to like engineering and you're going to hate the experience and you're not going to be able to have a good enough mindset to be able to actually get a lot out of the experience.
I mean, I don't think you should go to college for a degree that you don't want.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, what I'm trying to say is that I think engineering is a good field to go into because it teaches you a lot about mindset, but don't go into it just for that teaching aspect. Don't go into it just to help your mind become more analytical. There are other ways to get an analytical mind, and there might be paths that you enjoy to get that. Yeah. To get that out of you. So that would be my thing. I think that, yes, there's probably experiences that we missed out on by going to college, but I think we're still young and we're pursuing our dreams. And I think that's the important thing. And I think I got a lot out of college. And the job stability is nice because you can get a high-paying job that's relatively relaxed and you can focus on other business stuff while you get that income, that stable income. So I see it as a benefit in that respect too.
I think if I didn't go to college, I wouldn't even be thinking about going into business and being, an entrepreneur and aiming for the top 1% of all people. I think I would probably be aiming for what we have, which is like a steady, regular job. Because if you don't have anything and you're struggling paycheck to paycheck and you're working 5 jobs, all you want is some room to breathe. All you want is a fucking $80,000 a year job that you work at a desk and sit in air conditioning. That's all you want, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you want. And once you have that, most people say, I don't want to go back to 5 jobs at the same time. I'm happy here. I'll stay here. I'll put money in my savings and I'll be okay. But, select people see the world for what it is and want more. And that's when you start to think, what more can I do? Why do $35 million cars exist? I'll never have $35 million. How do I get that money?
I don't know. I felt like there was a period in time where I didn't actually know if I was going to go to college in high school. I thought I was just going to try racing and try odd jobs and stuff like that. I didn't know if I wanted to go. But I still had really big dreams of what I wanted out of life. So I don't know. I feel like you might have still had those big aspirations.
Not me.
Really?
Dude, no. I grew up being told you're going to go to college whether you want it or not. You can choose what you go for, but it's going to be something that earns money. It'll be in STEM. That's what I was told growing up.
Yeah.
So even through college, I was like, okay, cool, I'm nailing it. I've got this internship. I have a job guarantee. I'm good to go. And then I started talking to you, and then you were like, do you want to trade your time for money? And I was like, I mean, I hate it at the office. And you were like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do something different. That's when I found it.
I see your point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, you could have eventually, if you didn't go to college, you could have eventually achieved that office job. And then your goalpost could have been moved, right? Because you talked about a while back, you were like, yeah, my dream when I was, early in college or in high school was to like have a family together and have kids and have a stable income and have a house and a car, right? Yeah. And then you realize you achieved a good amount of those goals, not all of them, but you had a good amount of those goals done. And you're like, hold on, I'm already done with my goals. Like, how does that make sense? And you moved the goalpost on your own without my influence of, business or anything.
Right. I'll say if I didn't go to college and get that job, like let's say I'm still working at the movie theater. Let's say I graduate college and then I'm working at the movie theater and I'm like, fuck, dude, like I got to get out of here. Because the movie theater was my motivation to achieve highly in college. Like working that job taught me, hey, you cannot fuck around. You have to go to college or this is what life looks like. And you're just going to kill yourself. You can't do that, man. So I started going to college. Let's say I don't go to college. Let's say I keep working at the movie theater and then eventually I work at the steel manufacturer shop, right? And I'm making fucking $12 an hour and it's not enough. So I've got to pick up a second job. Now I'm working McDonald's at night, right?
Yeah.
My ultimate goal is the same goals of house and kids and wife and whatever, right? Steady, regular desk job in the air conditioning. But I think that would probably take me longer than the length of college did. And so then I'm using this, let's just say it's the same, 4 years. I come out of college and I have this office job. I struggle in these lower level jobs and then I finally achieve an office job, right? Odds are it doesn't pay the same as engineering. Let's just say it does. I walk out of that 4 year period without the values that I got from college. The values that I have instead is just hard work and suffering and an intense fear of going back to that.
Yeah.
I don't have that fear because when I worked those jobs, I lived at home and I didn't have anything to worry about. But dude, if I had to work those jobs now with bills to pay, that's an intense fear. And I think that's the fear that keeps a lot of people at their jobs.
Yeah.
Because they had it like that once.
I hear you.
So I think for me personally, I'm glad I went to college.
Yeah.
But I'm ready for more.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that.
My beef with college isn't college itself. My beef with college is that I think it misleads a lot of kids into taking on student loans that they're not going to be able to pay.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest issue with it.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I would agree. So I do have another question, but I'd love to hear if you got another quote or a question that you'd like to
I got
throw
a bunch
down.
of stuff.
Yeah.
One of the Hormozi quotes from this week was, the easier you are to offend, the easier you are to control. And I thought that was really powerful because if you are like quick to agitate. Yeah, go ahead.
I got one to add on that too. This was actually a quote I heard this morning from Tristan Tate, and he said that if you go through the process of trying to change yourself, you understand how hard it is to change yourself. Mm-hmm. So why would you ever expect to be able to change someone else, right? And essentially the meaning of the quote was like, you got to work on yourself and focus on yourself and don't get caught up in other people's opinions of you because it can influence you and you'll never change them, right? So kind of related to that.
There's no greater waste of time than justifying your actions to people who have a life you don't want.
Yep.
Don't try to change other people. Be yourself.
Exactly.
The key quote that I created this week is replace I thought with I want. When I'm talking to people, I find that when I read a lot of emails at work, I'm writing the words like, oh, I thought I'd just reach out to you, or I just wanted to say, or, I was thinking like that. And that, when I read it back to myself, is so fucking non-committal and so fucking weak. And I thought to myself, I just fucking did it right there. I don't want to sound like that. I want to sound more sure of myself, because if I'm saying to myself, well, I think, then I'm implying in my own brain that I'm not certain of what I'm doing. And I want to be more decisive. I've already decided to do the task. Why don't I just say that I've decided to do the task? Be more committed. So I thought and I just replaced with I want.
I like that a lot, actually. I'll start using that too. That's a very cool concept.
That one was mine. That's the first quote of our own that we've said on the podcast instead of quoting other podcasts.
We've had a couple, but I dig that. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be, I haven't quite asked this question before. It's similar to a question I've asked before, but I wanted to know one time where you've taken a negative situation and turned it into a positive one, and how you did that effectively. We've talked about on the podcast before how it's important to take negative situations and turn them into positives. Well, what's one example that when you were able to do that effectively? And I can go first if you need a second to think.
I might have to think even back to... Oh, fucking no. I have an example from this week. Dude, I got called into my task lead's office to get yelled at because my coworker and I were working a task together, and I told him, dude, I don't want to be a fucking part of this. You do terrible work. And so he said, fine, go do something else. So I did. And ultimately, he submitted the deliverable, and then he took a new job, quit, put my name on it, and said, hey, if anyone has questions, ask Mason. Well, it has to go through a review process before being submitted to the customer. And in that review process, everybody reviewing the document is like, what the fuck is this? So the task lead, so like it went up the chain of command to the task lead, he called me into his office to yell at me. And at first he was like, what the fuck is this? I have 15 questions. What the hell? Like, just explain yourself. He was livid. And I explained myself, and ultimately we connected, and then he asked for a review on his leadership because the task had wrapped up. And he was like, what do you think of my leadership style? And I said, actually, I see a lot of my leadership style in yours, right? He makes meeting notes and sends it out after every single meeting, very communicative. He would rather send you an email that you don't need than you not get it at all. Whereas a lot of people at work don't want to be bothered by things. And so if they get sent an email that they don't care about, they'll tell the person, don't send me this shit anymore. And that's really terrible from a systems perspective because it's information sharing. And ultimately, I walked out of the office with a job offer because he said, I need a right-hand man, I need a deputy to help run these meetings as this task progresses because the customer wants it to grow. And he said, I am needing a right-hand man and I want it to be you. And I was like, thanks, I'll consider it, but I don't know how long I'll be here, et cetera. But took a negative situation, which was I'm getting yelled at, and turned it around into a job opportunity that ultimately I'm not going to take.
That's a good one. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. The first one that came to mind for me was when the Florida Tech department told us that they were taking the Mercedes car and turning it into some electric concoction.
Yeah.
And we were able to take that situation and go, okay, this sucks. They're taking our car. What are we going to do? Like, how are we going to get new people on board? Like, this was such a great way to get new people excited about the club and get them involved because we had this cool Mercedes that they could do anything with, right? And they're like, okay, what we're actually going to do is we're going to set aside money so that they can get their own car, whatever they want. So we took that situation of the car going away and framed it as, okay, we're getting rid of this car, but it really doesn't have as much potential as a chunk of money that you guys can go and do anything you want with, right? So we were able to take that situation by moving some money around and coordinating with the school. And it worked out better than I think even just, we did actually end up keeping the Mercedes because the other plan fell through, but I think it would have worked out better than even just keeping, the Mercedes if we had to go that route.
Yeah.
So that was one situation that came to mind when I was writing that question. But I think overall, good podcast this week. We got a lot of nice work done this past week on business stuff, and I'm very excited for this coming week and the work that we have ahead of us. We will be toning back a little bit on, Kahuna and the posting schedule for social media. We'll still be posting the long forms every week, but no TikTok and stuff. So.
I have an idea, which is if we're not doing the TikToks and stuff, and all we're doing is uploading the long form, we can maybe do longer ones.
Yeah, we could actually.
Because you're not going to be burdened by the TikTok shorts.
Yeah, we could lengthen them up a little bit. Starting next week, they will be longer.
That would be great. That'd
cool.
be so exciting.
Works for me.
Sweet.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Really appreciate it.
Thank both of you. Yeah. Thank you.
All of you. All three of you.
Just you and me on Tuesday.
Thank you, guys, and stay safe out there and be well.